Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name's Gary Crosby. I'm an action coach, business coach, as you can see from the sign behind me. And it's my job really to give successful business owners a set of fresh perspectives, maybe some new ideas and the right kind of mix of challenge and support as they go about their ambitions and what they want to achieve in their business. But I've been running this business for 3 years now, but I wasn't always a business coach. I spent some time in the corporate world doing sales and marketing and strategy. And before that, I had a 30-year career in the Royal Air Force. And during that career in the Royal Air Force, one of the things that was the big highlight for me was the privilege of being appointed to be the commanding officer of one of the RAF's frontline flying squadrons. And I will confess to you in public on LinkedIn right now that I don't think I was ready for that challenge. So it was a tremendous learning experience for me. And I carried on learning about leadership when I was in the corporate world. And over the last 3 years, I've been coaching business owners who've been coping with that step up into leadership. And the whole point of this series of LinkedIn Lives is for me to share with you some of the things that I learned on that journey in the hope that they'll be useful to you. Because as business owners, my view certainly is the more you learn about leadership, the more choices you've got when it comes to leading your team. So this is LinkedIn Live Leadership number 6, and we're going to be talking about the art of delegation. And delegation is a really, really important skill for business owners to have. When you look at the stats for why businesses fail, quite a lot of people go back to employment because they can't cope with the pressure of being a business owner. There's too much to do. There's all that money-making activity, and then there's all those other things that businesses have to do. And so when they can't build a team, or they've got a team and they can't delegate effectively to that team, that's what brings the pressure back on themselves. So good leaders delegate effectively. And if you've got that skill, then that's a really good thing for you and your business. So I'm just going to share the things that I think are really important when it comes to delegation. So let's have a think about the reason why. Why would you delegate? I mean, the first one, I guess, is the really obvious one, is that when you delegate effectively, you get some time back for yourself. Right? And that's really important as a business owner, because many business owners don't get the time to think. Yeah. And when you do get the time to think, you can start thinking about some of those strategic things that we've mentioned in the previous LinkedIn Live broadcasts. Things like thinking strategically about the direction you want your company to go into, thinking about the opportunities that are out there for your company, thinking about the threats that your company faces. That kind of thinking is really high value activity. Building great strategic relationships is a good thing to do when you've got a little bit of extra time. So delegation gives you time back. That's the really, really obvious one. The second one is that you do get a little bit of increased productivity and efficiency, because what tends to happen is in an organization, the delegation happens so that the activity is being done at the lowest level, which it can be done effectively and efficiently. So it creates some efficiencies in the business. The third one, and this is sometimes overlooked by business owners, is that when you delegate effectively, you are contributing massively to the growth and development of your people. And it comes back to, again, to something we've talked about before in this series, which is you are teaching other people to think by delegating effectively. How many times have you given a job to somebody and it hasn't quite worked out? So maybe you've got the kind of attitude where if you need a good job doing, you have to do it yourself. But I can tell you from my personal experience that a couple of times I've delegated work to people who have really come up with the goods. You know, you weren't quite sure, you're thinking there's a bit of risk involved there, and they just smash it out of the park. They've got a really, really good approach to the work, and they surprise you by being a lot better than you expected. So that's also a really good part of delegation, because you are effectively contributing to the growth and development of the people in your team. So those are the good reasons why you want to delegate. Let's have a look at the process of delegation itself. Now, what I like to say at the start of the delegation process is there's a little test that you need to do. And this is an important test for business owners because it will help them to reduce their anxiety a little bit. So the test is quite a simple one, and it's this. You ask yourself, what is the worst possible thing that could happen if I delegate this task and it doesn't go the way I thought? Can I live with that worst possible outcome? So would you delegate the responsibility for managing the account of your major client to somebody if you weren't completely confident that that was going to go really well? Probably not. If you had a project to, I don't know, run a marketing campaign or something like that, and there was a little bit of risk involved, but actually if it didn't go quite so well, you could live with the consequences, well then, why not delegate? Let's get that down into the right part of the organization. So that's the first thing, the test. What's the worst possible thing that could happen, and can I live with that? The second thing to think about is the cost to you of not delegating. And again, that normally comes back to time, in the sense that you've now decided that you're going to keep that job for yourself. It's your responsibility to deliver that output. You haven't got the time then to do that other work that we were talking about before. So maybe the work that you're doing could be outsourced to somebody or delegated further down into your organization to a level where people are working on a lower hourly rate, freeing you up to do stuff that actually adds a lot of value to the company. So that's the thing, the second thing. Think about the cost of not actually delegating. And then we get into the practicalities of delegation, and there's 7 points here that we'll just run through very quickly for you to think about. And this will increase your confidence in delegation if you get these points in order. So the first one is, will the person that you're going to delegate the task to be following a set of procedures, policies, guidelines, checklists, manuals, or something like that? Because actually, if they're running freestyle, there's a bit more risk. If they're following some set procedures and policies, then there's a little bit less risk. So that's an important thing to consider as you start the delegation process. Does the person have the required skills and training? Well, I'm guessing that you wouldn't delegate to somebody if you didn't think they had. But let's say, I'll get into trouble for doing this, but let's say we're talking about running a marketing campaign, Christmas 2021. Right? And you're thinking, I'm going to give that job to John to do that job for me. I need to give him a little bit of skills and training between now and then so that he can get himself up to the level that he needs to be. All right. So that's a good way to think about the skills and training that people need when you're going to delegate to them. Now, numbers 3 and 4, I think, are really important, because what these two things do is they stop you creating a loop in which the person comes back to you immediately for something that you didn't give them in the first place. So the first one is, give them enough responsibility and communicate to everybody else that this person is responsible for the task that has been set. Okay, so you know that then that they are operating in an environment where other people know they've got responsibility and accountability for it. And number 4 is to give them the right amount of authority. Okay, so if you give somebody a task and they get to the first hurdle and somebody else in the organization says, no, you can't do that, then they're going to come back to you and say, oh, well, I've hit a roadblock and I need your authority to go any further. So when you're delegating effectively, make sure the person's got the authority to complete the task without having to come back to you to ask for more. Okay, so that's number 3 and number 4. Numbers 5, 6, and 7 are good leadership principles anyway. So talk very clearly about the outcome that you want. Okay, now in some organizations you might have to give not only the outcome that you want, but how you want it to be done. But actually, if you've got good delegation and good teams around you, then you might just talk about the outcome. This is what I want to achieve. All right, so be clear about the outcome. Also be clear about the time frame, that this project is going to run for a certain amount of time, and I want you to complete it by this particular time frame. And the final one is, be clear about the feedback and reporting. Yeah, this is really going to be important for you as well, because you might want to get information back as the project is going along, just to give you that little bit of confidence. All right, so 7 things there. I'm not sure they're all in exactly the right order, but they're things that I've seen in the past that are quite important to do as a delegator. Now, there's 2 final things I just want to touch on, and they are the levels of control that you give when you delegate. Okay, and there's a couple of options, I think, for you here. And the first one is that you could say to somebody, let's go back to the Christmas marketing campaign. We're going to run this Christmas marketing campaign. I want you to go away, and I want you to put it all together, and I want you to get all the collateral, and I want you to work out the investment, and I want to work out all the likely options we've got. Then I want you to come back to me, and I will give you the yes to go ahead with it. So we call that level 1 control, and that is really for you just to say to the person, I just want that final piece of say-so and authority to trigger the campaign. Then it's back to you to run it. That's level 1. Level 2 would be when you say to somebody, go execute that Christmas marketing campaign. You know what you're doing, you know what the outcome is and what we want from that particular campaign. But I want you to come back every week and just give me an update on it. So you're asking for feedback about progress, but you're not putting yourself in the place of a bottleneck where they have to come back to you asking for authority to start. Okay, so level 1 and level 2 control, just different ways of handling that when you start to actually delegate the tasks. Okay, so that's delegation. We've whistled through it in 9 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. I'm just sharing with you the things that I think I've learned over time as I've developed my leadership skills. When you become an effective delegator in your business, you will feel the pressure lifting off you slightly. Will you stop worrying? No, of course not. Will you still wonder whether or not the team is going to perform the way you want them to? Probably. But actually, this delegation principle allows you to lift some of the pressure off you, and you can get on with those strategic tasks. So the gentle art of delegation in LinkedIn Live Leadership number 6. Next week, every week at midday on a Wednesday, we'll be doing this. Next week, we are going to talk about how to make great decisions. And I'll give you my top 5 factors to consider when you're trying to make a decision in the face of many different types of information. It's a little model that we use that if you run through this model, you're likely to come out with a set of options and an idea about what kind of decisions you want to make. Okay, so that was the art of delegation. Next week, it is how to make great decisions. I'll see you then for the next LinkedIn Live Leadership. See you next week.